What if the secrets to sustainable empires and lasting prosperity weren't in today's economic textbooks, but in the forgotten rulebooks of African queens? Long before colonial conquest or European advisors, Africa had matriarchs who ruled with iron will and visionary foresight. They didn't just conquer. They planned, preserved, and prospered. This isn't the history you were taught in school. This is the real African playbook written by women, and it's time we remembered their names. Africa wasn't always portrayed as fractured or dependent. It once boasted thriving empires, built not just on land, but on resource mastery, strategic storage, trade, and infrastructure. And at the heart of many of these systems were women, matriarchs, economists before the term even existed. Let's meet them. Let us journey back to Africa's golden eras and meet the power matriarchs who shaped them. Our first stop is 16th century Nigeria, to the kingdom of Zazzau, ruled by the legendary Queen Amina. She wasn't just a military genius. She was an empire builder in every sense of the word. Amina pioneered the construction of massive earthen walls around her cities, creating fortified hubs of commerce. These Amina's walls didn't just protect her people. They secured vital trade routes that crisscrossed the Sahel. She controlled the lucrative trade in gold and kola nuts, establishing a powerful economic grip over the region. But she didn't just hoard this wealth. Amina instituted sophisticated taxation systems to fund her military and invest in public infrastructure. She understood that a strong economy was the bedrock of a strong kingdom. People often say she built an economy, not just a kingdom, and they're absolutely right. Her legacy shows us that military might and economic strategy go hand in hand. Next, we travel to 17th century Angola, to the kingdoms of Ndongo and Matamba, and meet the indomitable Queen Nzinga. Facing the relentless advance of the Portuguese colonialists, Nzinga became a master negotiator and a brilliant guerrilla tactician. She understood the power of trade in a way few others did. She strategically controlled the flow of valuable resources like ivory, and she used her leverage to forge and break alliances. Nzinga played European powers against each other, negotiating with the Portuguese and forming alliances with the Dutch. She also built powerful coalitions with neighboring African states, creating a united front against foreign domination. For Nzinga, trade was not just about profit. It was a weapon. It was a tool for diplomacy and a means to secure her people's independence. She outmaneuvered entire empires, proving that economic intelligence could be more powerful than brute force. Let's rewind further to 40 BC in Nubia, the region of modern-day Sudan, home to the Kingdom of Kush. Here we encounter Cande Caminerinus, a queen who faced down the mightiest empire of her time, Rome. When the Romans tried to expand south into her territory after conquering Egypt, Caminerinus didn't just surrender. She led her armies in a fierce counterattack, pushing the Roman legions back. But her victory wasn't just military. She was a shrewd protector of her kingdom's wealth. She fiercely guarded Nubia's rich gold reserves and managed its thriving iron production industry, which was a cornerstone of the Kushite economy. She understood that controlling natural resources was the key to sovereignty. By protecting her lands and its treasures from foreign extraction, Caminerinus ensured the long-term prosperity and independence of her people. She was a queen who stood against Caesar and won. Now we journey to the mists of legend and history, around 1000 BC, to meet Queen Makeda, better known as the biblical Queen of Sheba. Her empire, believed to have spanned parts of modern-day Ethiopia and Yemen, was legendary for its immense wealth and wisdom. Makeda controlled the vital trade routes for incense, spices, and gold that connected Africa with the Middle East. Her caravans were famous across the ancient world. But her genius wasn't just in trade. She was a master of governance and infrastructure. She is credited with building vast palaces and sophisticated irrigation systems in ancient Taxum, turning arid lands into fertile agricultural centers. Queen Makeda combined shrewd business acumen with visionary cross-continental diplomacy. She wasn't just a ruler of a physical territory. She built an empire of mind, matter, and minerals, showcasing the incredible power of a leader who excels in both commerce and statecraft. Finally, we arrive in Kemet, ancient Egypt, in the 15th century BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Hatshepsut. She was one of the few women to rule as a pharaoh, and her reign was marked not by war, but by unprecedented peace and prosperity. Hatshepsut's key strategy was economic expansion. She commissioned one of the most famous trade expeditions in ancient history, a massive journey to the distant land of Punt. This expedition brought back incredible wealth, incense, ebony, gold, and exotic animals. Hatshepsut was a master of supply chain management, overseeing the logistics of these complex trade missions. She then wisely reinvested the profits back into her kingdom, funding the construction of magnificent temples, canals for irrigation, and vast granaries for food storage. Hatshepsut proved that a nation could become a superpower through careful planning and peaceful trade rather than through conflict and conquest. She turned Egypt into a stable, thriving trade empire with no war needed. So what was their secret? What was the playbook these incredible matriarchs used? They didn't just inherit power. They engineered sustainability. First, they mastered agricultural storage systems. They built granaries, understood flood cycles, and developed irrigation to ensure their people would never go hungry. Second, they established and protected trade corridors. They knew the value of their routes and taxed them accordingly, using the revenue to fund security patrols that kept commerce flowing safely. Third, they engaged in meticulous resource mapping. They had a deep understanding of their lands and knew exactly where to find gold, salt, iron, and spices. Fourth, many of them relied on matriarchal councils, decision-making structures that were rooted in balance and communal well-being. And finally, they often had progressive land ownership models where women could own or govern land cooperatively, ensuring that wealth was more distributed and secure. They ran their empires like well-managed enterprises with a focus on local ownership and generational foresight. So why does any of this matter today in the 21st century? It matters profoundly. In an era where Africa often imports food it has the capacity to grow, sells raw materials it could process locally, and loses billions of dollars to external capital outflow, these matriarchs offer a powerful reminder: we've done this before. We have built our own systems of ownership, trade, and protection. We have a blueprint for self-sufficiency and prosperity in our own history. Their playbook was centered on local control, resource sovereignty, and building intergenerational wealth. These are not new foreign concepts. They are our ancestral inheritance. The idea to buy and think Africa isn't just a modern trend. It's a return. It's a return to the principle of ownership that our ancestors championed. It's a return to the matriarchal models of stewardship that prioritized community and sustainability. It's a return to the vital work of building our own supply chains, our own trade networks, and our own infrastructure, just as Amina, Nzinga, and Hatshepsut once did. The solutions to many of our modern challenges can be found by looking back at the wisdom of those who came before us. If you want to dive deeper and get the modern companion to our ancestral wisdom, a blueprint for today, I highly recommend reading Africa on Sale, the Diaspora Playbook. It's time to invest like a queen, build like a matriarch, and own like Africa. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more hidden histories.